Back from the Shoop Sports studio. It is Chuck and Shoop back at it with another episode today. We are going to be going into our NFL season long predictions. And we got a dub and an L each for you, and we're going to hit you some pick'ems. Chuck, how does that agenda sound for today?
I think it sounds fantastic. I'm absolutely ready to roll. Do you want to start us off?
Let's start this baby off. It's time for some dubs and some L's.
Mm-hmm.
And W of the week has got to go to a guy that before the season started, well, we had absolutely no expectations for. And in fact, a lot of people were clowning this guy because he got traded for like a third rounder or like a fifth rounder, some mid-round pick.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone was like, why would the Cardinals do that? Well, the Cardinals happen to get some ROI on their investment themselves by flipping Josh Dobbs for a second rounder. But then Josh Dobbs comes in to the Minnesota Vikings, not knowing much of the playbook at all, not knowing most of the guys on his team's names. In fact, he had a practice cadence with his offensive linemen like hours before. He's like doing this stuff on the dot, and he wasn't even supposed to play.
Nope.
Jaren Hall was the starter. He got knocked out real early.
Yeah.
Josh Dobbs comes in and puts on a show, and I liked rooting for him when he was on the Cardinals, and I am so happy that he gets another chance to go in and prove himself as a starter. Check this out. Josh Dobbs, in the last 6 years, he's been on the Pittsburgh Steelers. Not 6 years. The last 6 teams he's been on in the last 2 years. The Pittsburgh Steelers, the Cleveland Browns, the Detroit Lions, the Tennessee Titans, the Browns again, and then the Cardinals, and then the Vikings. This was all from 2021 to 2023. This guy was a 4th-round pick, has bounced around everywhere, and he's one of those guys that you thought would be an afterthought. Wrong.
Nope.
Josh Dobbs is a forethought, if that's such a thing.
I couldn't agree more. He is absolutely balling out. When he stepped onto the field, I thought the Vikings were going to have even more trouble trying to move the ball downfield, but wasn't even a sweat. He just went out there and balled, and you just got to give credit to him and his preparation before the game. Coming into that game, maybe he wasn't thinking he was going to play, but he was prepared either way, and you just love to see that out of a quarterback who's bounced around the league for these past 2 years.
Yeah, and make no mistake, it was an incredible feat to come in with just like a few days of notice in a situation where you weren't planning to start, and to do that, remarkable. W, well deserved. Chuck, who's your W going
to? My dub is actually, I think people would think it's an L, but I'm going to give my dub to Caleb Williams. Absolutely just hysterically crying his eyes out with his mom after the game when they lost to Washington by like 10 points. But this kid, people give shit about him painting his nails and whatnot, like just talking shit about him on social media, and I get it. But him showing that emotion after that game, I was like watching him cry, and I was really like, damn, like he fucking cares so much about this team. And you could say it with like all the State Farm commercials he's in and all that shit that he's not bought in, but you could just tell by that pouring of emotion, he wanted to go undefeated. He wanted to beat the good teams that he was facing in that conference. He wanted to take that team to the next level. He wanted to make sure Lincoln Riley was having a successful coaching career, and he is the apex of that. And to show that emotion after a game, and like you can talk shit all you want, but that's just like true, I think, leadership, and shows that you actually fucking care. You're not just like going back to the locker room like, damn, I lost, but I'm still going to get drafted. I'm still going to make X amount of money. But seeing that on national television, and you can call him a pussy or whatever, what have you, what kind of word you want to use. But I think that is just a display of affection towards a game that you love, a game that you play every day, and a game that you're going to be successful at. So huge dub for that whole scene, because even though USC quarterbacks have not turned out well in these past years, in the past decade, I think this kid, the sky's the limit. He did it at Oklahoma, goes to another school, balls out. I think it doesn't even matter. So I think that's huge cojones to just probably take the criticism right now. And he'll probably go into the draft at a bigger stock. But shout out to Caleb Williams for the true outpouring of emotion and just showing out in the field every day and giving football fans something to look forward to.
Chuck, think about the best athletes across the sport, all sports. And I can guarantee you that all the best players in those sports are some of the biggest competitors out there on the field.
100%.
So you could say what you want about Williams' personality, but we're talking about his football passion here, and unquestioned after that scene. And I'm going to say for the record, it's completely not his fault.
Yeah,
also,
no, I meant to say that.
Like, that's the other thing. He has been amazing this year. He's been absolutely incredible. That defense, I don't think I could trust him against like Don Bosco's high school team. I feel like they would get shattered.
I think Bosco would win.
Yeah. Shout out Ramsey, New Jersey.
Yeah, definitely shout out.
Time for our L. All right, Chuck, I'll let you go first on this one. What is your L this week?
My L is going to have to be so yesterday, Lakers played the Heat in Miami. Anthony Davis checks out of the game with a hip spasm. And I'm looking at the injury reports. He says he's going to play the next game. But, like, I'm just huge L for Anthony Davis not staying healthy for more than 10 games of the season. So I don't know what's going on with him. He's always credited as the best basketball player, one of the best basketball players in the league, but injuries hinder him all the time. So I don't know what he did in the offseason or like if he can't take the physicality of the play, but you can just see out there he wasn't really setting that much efficient pick and rolls, and I'm hoping he comes back fired up, but like a hip spasm and then you just check out of the game. Like they needed him in that game, and it came down to the last shot, and the Lakers didn't get it. But LeBron's 40 years old, and he's playing out of his goddamn mind. So I'm just waiting for AD to wake up and start playing like a first-team All-Pro NBA player who's 32, 33 years old and can still like be proficient in this league. So huge L goes to Anthony Davis. I hope his hip is all right, but if he gets hurt again this next game coming up, and they play the Rockets, I'm pretty sure. So I'm looking for him to really step up his game because right now it's a huge L, and the Lakers don't look good without him.
Chuck, as I get older and watch more sports, I feel more empathy for a lot of these players than just to call them injury prone. However, in this case, correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't Anthony Davis make some sort of like parody video, like TikTok or something, saying like, "Oh, you guys think I'm injury prone?" And he made some sort of joke out of it. Does that ring a bell? I feel like he made that. I definitely remember him making that. So like, if you're gonna make a joke like that, like at least prove us wrong. Like now I can't feel as bad for him. And didn't he once leave on a wheelchair after like a foot injury, like a head injury or something?
Yeah, literally a big baby energy, was on a wheelchair. And I think it wasn't even like the leg injury. I think it was his hip. Like I think it was hip again, but not like lower leg where guy can like barely walk out of the arena. He needs a wheelchair. Maybe he shit himself like Paul Pierce did with the wheelchair incident, but it's just like you got to wake up, man. You got to be tougher than that. Like the NBA is not that physical as he used to be. So Anthony, you gotta step it up.
Coincidentally, our sponsor of today's video is Men's Warehouse, which is also the official jersey of Anthony Davis.
Yeah.
Anyway, so L of this week, and I mean, it's not really this week in particular, but the hits just keep coming for this team. The Atlanta Falcons make no sense as an organization. So they draft Bijan Robinson in the top 10 this year. And this was after, well, kind of before the whole offseason, but still, like, running backs not getting paid has been a theme in the NFL for a while now. And you have a great running back on a rookie contract. So what they do is they proceed to give more carries to Tyler Algier. And like Bijan was held out of that game for like a headache or whatever it was, but like there is absolutely no reason, even with an extra game, that Algier should have 13 more carries than Bijan, especially considering that Algier averages a measly 3.2 yards per carry and Bijan averages 5. And then you go to their receiving core, and they have 2 top 10 picks drafted by them in the top 10. That's Drake London and Kyle Pitts. Drake London's been okay, and Kyle Pitts, well, I really I don't know if it's like his work ethic or the fact that he like maybe doesn't understand playbooks. Like why is he not making explosive plays? I thought that's who he was before. But the most embarrassing part about all of this is that their best player, their best pass catcher this year, has been a guy that was drafted in the 3rd round by another team. Oh, and he's making 13 million this year from the Patriots. That's Jonnu Smith. Yes.
Oh, God, yeah.
How this has happened, I have no idea. Maybe Jonnu Smith was the weapon all along.
Guy had like a 45-yard receiving touchdown, and I was like, oh, that's Pitts. No, it's Jonnu Smith. And what I've heard with Kyle Pitts is that his route running, like when he gets in and out of his breaks, when he makes his cuts, it's just not on par, or like with the timing with the quarterback, he just can't get separation. So he's a big motherfucking body, but he just can't get the separation where the quarterback can put it in a place where the DB cannot get it. So I don't know what his deal is.
Yeah, it's all mental for him. I think, it's a huge part of the game. I think it's just all mental also for Arthur Smith at this point. Like, you're just kind of making things more difficult for yourself by not making Bijan your workhorse. There's no reason to save him for next year. Like, use him now. He could get hurt at any point. And it would be more excusable, if like they were doing this and winning, but they're losing, and like obviously the division's close, and they could have gave themselves a little bit of a lead. So horrible coaching by the Falcons and bad ownership for not using the players they draft.
Terrible. Botch City.
All right, we are officially over halfway through the season. Well, every team in the NFL has now played at least 8 games, which used to be the halfway point. But regardless, now we're starting to see things settle in a little bit. We know which teams are trash, golf giants. We know which teams might have a better chance than we thought, and we know who the contenders are. So what we're going to do in this video, we're going to redo our playoff predictions, conference by conference, and then through the playoffs, basing it off the rest of the year's schedule and the current records, of course. So we're going to start things off in the AFC. And I want you to start, Chuck, by giving me your top 2 seeds.
Just the top 2? Okay.
Yes.
Here we go. So top 2 seeds right now, coming out of the AFC West, number 1, Chiefs. And then coming out of the AFC South at number 2 seed, we got the Jags.
Interesting. So I have 2 different teams. Well, actually, not 2 different teams, but different order for my list. And I think you'll understand why when I say it. I have the Bengals basically running the table and going 14-3, and the Chiefs at 13-4. Those are my top 2. Now, there was one game in particular that decided this, and that is their Week 17 affair.
Matchup, yeah.
Chiefs versus Bengals, which will be absolutely huge. But I'm assuming because you have the Chiefs ahead and the number 1 seed, you have them winning that game. You think that the Mahomes has reversed his luck?
I'm hoping, but that the Chiefs defense is just bailing him out whatsoever. He has a phenomenal first half offensively. They always just come out firing. They get that big lead. But then when it comes to the second half, it's almost like the offense hits a lull. The other opponent's defense makes halftime adjustments, and they shut down 2 or 1 guy that's been making a difference the entire game. For example, the Dolphins game that we just saw this weekend, Kelsey, 1 catch for like 7 yards. They're doubling him every play. Rashid Rice is going to be the guy. I'm hoping their offense starts clicking more and more with Rashid Rice. Christian Watson gives me like an Edelman-type vibe that he'll just get the catch over the middle possession for 10 yards, 15 yards. He's back. So I'm hoping they also get the run game going with Pacheco so they can set up the pass, because that's always been the Chiefs' formula. So I'm hoping they get that going throughout the rest of the season.
Yes, Week 17 is that game, and that will be a huge decider in this AFC playoff race. I'm going to go to I'm going to go to my 3 and 4 now. And at number 3, I have the Dolphins finishing with 11-6 record, and then I have the Jaguars at number 4 with a 10-7 record.
Okay, so my number 3 is going to be the Ravens coming out of the AFC North. I think they definitely can run the table. I think they go like 12-5, and they win out of that tough division, or 13-3. And then I have the AFC East. It's just going to be a dogfight, but I think with the Bills' experience and what they can be capable of doing, I think the sky's the limit, and I think they can make a run. And give me the Bills at 4 coming out of the AFC East.
All right. And now we'll get into our wildcard teams just to reveal the rest of the slate, and then we'll go into a little bit more detail, and we'll ask more questions about the differences between our teams. So, my wildcard teams, I have the Ravens at 12-5 as the number 5 seed, the Browns at number 6 as a 10-7, and I have the Houston Texans at 9-8, with notable teams missing the playoffs, including the Chargers and the Bills.
Yeah, okay. Because I have the opposite. I have the Bengals at the 5 because I think they're the fifth, fourth best team. It's going to be the Ravens or Bengals in that division. Bengals at 5. I have the Dolphins at 6. I still think they're a good football team. They just can't win big games, but I feel like they can go on a run. You have to play the NFC. I think the NFC East the rest of the way. So we'll see how that goes. And then I have the Chargers. After this big game on Monday, I finally got to see the Chargers come alive with all the money they're putting into their players and all the guys they have around Justin Herbert. They finally went up against a top-tier defense on Monday. And yes, they had one special teams touchdown, but their defense stepped up. And I know it was against Zach Wilson, but also their defense stepped up in a tremendous way of just stopping the Jets as a whole, only holding them to 2 field goals. And that's the Chargers defense that it's supposed to look like with all those top tier players that they have on their team. And Justin Herbert is a gamer, even though he has a turnover problem with interceptions. I think he can still rip up this league at the end of the season, and their division is not that good. So I think the Chargers sneak in at 7.
The Chargers are certainly very talented. Just worry about their coaching and a lot of tight games down the stretch. So it's gonna hurt them in a competitive AFC. I want to talk about the Bills for a second because you have them as your division winner, and I think a lot of people will put them in division contention. But I have them missing the playoffs on a tiebreaker, and the reason for this, their defense, now that they've lost their 2 biggest pieces with Milano and Trey White out for the year, they are going up against a lot of very good offenses in the second half of the year. It's a very brutal schedule. So check this out. So they, after this week, so they'll get the Broncos and the Jets. But then after that, they get the Eagles, the Chiefs, the Cowboys, the Chargers, the Patriots, the Dolphins. That is a brutal late part of the schedule, especially for a team that, has been struggling on defense. These are a lot of high octane offenses that they have to play down the stretch. And they haven't done themselves any favors by, putting together a good record in the first half of the year. So I just think with that schedule, I had the Texans making it over them because you look at the Texans schedule and they'll play the Bengals this weekend, but then they got the Cardinals, the Jaguars at home, then the Broncos, the Jets, the Titans, Browns, Titans, Colts, a lot of in-division games. So I think a lot of those games are up for grabs, and I just think that the Texans talent is all coming together, and the coaching's great, and can't say enough about CJ Stroud. So I have them sneaking in.
I wanted to do the Texans sneaking in. I do, but I just feel like that division is just so back and forth right now. Well, I mean the Jags take it all, but the rest of those 3 teams, Texans, Titans, Colts. All
Yeah.
those teams are super competitive. So a lot of those games I could see the Texans losing by like a field goal or 1 point in the end. But I do agree with you. If they become a 7 seed, I wouldn't be surprised.
Mm-hmm. And one last thing for the AFC. Last team in the AFC. Who do you have? I have the Patriots.
And then Belichick will be
Yeah.
on his way out after this week. Hot take.
Oh, okay. Moving on. So let's go into the NFC now, which the playoff race, especially the wild card, is wide open. A lot of these divisions look like they might be shutting down a little bit soon, but we'll see. Let's start again. Top 2 seeds, Chuck. Who you got in the NFC?
Okay, so number one, nobody can stop the tush push, the most illegal play in football. So I got the Eagles at number 1. 2, I have the Lions coming out of the NFC North as a 2nd seed.
So for my top 2 seeds, I have the Detroit Lions, who have a very easy schedule the rest of the way. I have them getting that 1 seed as the upper NFC teams beat each other up. And then in the 2 seed, I have the San Francisco 49ers, who go 13-4 and 6-0 in their division.
So they're starting to make a run at the last half of the season.
The 49ers have had some injuries that they've been dealing with recently, which is why they've fallen a bit. But don't forget that this same team went on like an 8 or 9 game winning streak to head into the playoffs last year. They're capable of doing it once. They're capable of doing it again.
Okay. I love the trends. I love trends.
Yes, we're real trendy on this show. So then for my 3 and my 4, I have the Cowboys at number 3, and I have the Saints at number 4. Reason being, well, the NFC East can have a repeat winner, and the Eagles have a tough schedule as well. So it'll be very close, but if the Cowboys, obviously they have to beat the Eagles the second time, I think they could seal this division.
See, I wanted to go with a different one, but I just think the Eagles, nobody can stop them. They just get out of games. At home, the refs just throw flags like it's nothing. But
yeah,
number 3, I have the 49ers coming out of the NFC West. And then I agree with you. The number 4 seed is going to be the Saints. It's the Saints division to lose. If they don't win this division, then their franchise is kaput, and they need to make some changes, whether it's Derek Carr, their quarterback, or getting some guys on offense. That's not Michael Thomas. So we'll see, but it's the Saints all the way at 4.
It's in all seriousness, though, this defense has performed very well, above my expectations this year. Derek Carr has been serviceable, and the rest of this division has a lot of concerns. But I still don't fully trust the Saints. I just think they're the least crappy of the crapshoot.
And after what happened to the Falcons this weekend, there's no way the Falcons are winning that division.
Yeah, hell no. I can't see it. Not with Arthur Smith running that team. 5 through 7, I have the Eagles as my top wild card team at 12-5, the Seahawks at the 6th seed, and the Vikings at the 7th seed. So a lot of the same playoff teams from last year from the NFC. Chuck, who's your 5 through 7?
Shoop, you hit it on the nail. My only difference is, so I have it flopped. So I have the Eagles winning the division. So the 5th seed will be the Cowboys with the 5th best record, or whatever. Will be like the 3rd best record with the Cowboys. 6 is going to be the Seahawks, like your pick. And then I also have 7 at the Vikings. It's Joshua Dobbs season. He's the fucking man. He makes plays with his feet. He's a fucking cannon. And I love the Vikings offense. And I love Kevin O'Connell as a coach too. So I'm hoping the Vikings sneak in there as a 7.
Yeah, Justin Jefferson's heading on his way back.
That too. Exactly.
So that's definitely a possibility. I think that we all knew this already, but the AFC is just way more stacked than the NFC. And I'm really starting to see that now. There's just a lot of all the really struggling teams, like aside from the Patriots, all of them are in the NFC. Like all the ones that have major problems are in the NFC. So you have a lot of teams that you don't really trust to win a whole lot of games. The only other wild card potential I see among this list is one of the NFC South teams. If they they all beat up on each other. Maybe like one of them just gets beat up a little bit more, and another team sneaks in, like the Falcons or the Bucks.
I could see the Bucks.
But yeah,
I like that a lot. Also wanted to add that when you asked me that question, who's the worst team in the AFC? The AFC is absolutely stacked. That's why I was stumbled. I was like, I want to say Patriots, but like Patriots aren't going to make a run, but like they're still a good football team where they beat a good Bills team. So the AFC might be a crapshoot. That's my take.
You're 100% right on that. And one bonus thing, the Giants will only get one more win the rest of the year, and it'll be against, of course, guess who?
Washington Commanders.
Yes. Yeah. They own them for some reason.
Okay.
Anyway, let's go into our playoff predictions, starting with the AFC. You run down your wild card. I'll run down mine.
Okay, so AFC wild card. Jags beat the Chargers again, but instead of it being in San Diego, it's at Jacksonville. I got Ravens beat the Dolphins at home. Ravens move on, Chargers move on, and then the Bengals just take care of business at Buffalo. It's going to be another snow game. Put your I said it's going to be a snow game. It's going to be snow in there. The Bengals run it down their throat. Joe Burrow, just you can't stop him when he is on the road. He plays insanely well, and so it's going to be Chargers, Ravens, Bengals. Moving on.
Mm-hmm. So I got the Chiefs play at home against the Texans, and this should be a no contest. Chiefs, all that playoff experience, CJ Stroud, and the Texans will be happy to be there, but the Chiefs will rightfully take their place in the next round. The Dolphins play the Browns. This is a very interesting matchup. Elite defense versus elite offense. I have the Browns winning this game. I think that the one thing that Tua struggles with sometimes is like finding his reads when there's intense pressure in his face.
Yeah.
And it's going to take it takes some time for those routes to develop. If he doesn't have great protection, it could hurt him. I think I like the Browns matchup in the game, so I'll have them moving on. And the Jaguars play the Ravens, and I have the Ravens being the Jaguars, although the Ravens, I think, are the better team. And even though I have them as a wildcard team, I think they're the third best team in the NFL right now. They're playing great defense. Offense looks really good. They might have found themselves a new start running back in Keenan Mitchell.
Yeah. I
think they're a better team than the Jaguars, who, they've had a good record recently, but I still think their defense ain't all that great.
I agree, and I think it all comes down to Lamar and taking care of the football late in games too.
Mm-hmm. All right, AFC divisional and championship game. Who you got?
So divisional round for the AFC, it's going to be Bengals at Chiefs. You know I'm taking the Chiefs. I don't want to see everything on Instagram. Joe Burrow owns Pat Mahomes, all this doohickey. I think the Chiefs defense is going to put Burrow in a bind, just like they did last year. And I'm not going to hear about on social media where Mahomes won because he got pushed out of bounds. I'm not going to hear that shit. Chiefs are going to outright win by like 9 points. Bold prediction here if they move to those two games to the divisional round. Then I have the Ravens at Jags. Just like your wild card matchup, I got the Ravens winning. Even though I think the Jags have a better team than the Ravens. But I think the Ravens just play this type of downhill football that I don't think any other team wants to play. And I think they could take that to an advantage here. And it all comes down, like I said earlier, to Lamar taking care of the football. But if we see playoff Lamar and he goes balls to the wall, which we missed the past 2 years, is playoff Lamar. Playoff Lamar takes care of the football, runs all around these guys. There's no stopping that guy. He's one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. So it's going to be Ravens versus the Chiefs. So Ravens at Chiefs in the AFC Championship. And I'm going with Chiefs here. I have a future on them. I said in the prediction show months earlier, I'm still riding with the Chiefs. Chiefs move on to the Super Bowl against the Ravens at home.
So very predictable there. But, I mean, obviously the Chiefs are one of the favorites in the AFC. So not giving you too much for that. But wait until you hear mine. So,
yeah.
I got the Bengals number 1 seed playing the Browns, and the Bengals are at home. I think the Bengals take care of business here. I think this is the kind of game where the Dolphins, or not Dolphins, but the Browns, lack of offense kind of catches up to them, and maybe they're kind of riding the high of their big upset last week. Bengals just way more experienced playoff team. I think that's kind of the difference. Tua, I'm going back to last round, but yeah, Tua doesn't have much playoff experience. He doesn't have like what Deshaun Watson has.
Yeah.
Watson's got playoff experience, but Bengals just outclassed them. And then they got the Ravens against the Chiefs. And then can the Ravens do what most teams can't do and go into Arrowhead and upset the Chiefs? I don't think so.
No.
I think the Chiefs will take care of business again. I think it'll be a very, very close game. It'll be a very fun one to watch. But at the end of the day, Patrick Mahomes and his throwing ability, would rely on more than Lamar's throwing ability in clutch situations. And the Chiefs' defense is good enough to keep them in it. So
I agree.
I got the Chiefs and the Bengals once again in the AFC Championship. This seems like it might be an ongoing thing for years.
I love it.
And I had the Bengals winning in the regular season, and Bengals haven't lost in my version of my season predictor, and I think it continues here.
Okay.
Joe Burrow and the boys stay hot and roll into the Super Bowl.
And they're at Arrowhead, right? Or no, it would be at Cincinnati.
They're in Cincinnati in my scenario.
Okay, right. Yeah, roles reversed. Okay. All right. I like it.
All right, let's move on to the NFC. So we may have some similar playoff matchups here, but I'll start things off. So for the 2 versus 7 matchup, I have the 49ers playing the Vikings, and this seems like another case of outclassing in talent. Vikings have a pretty good roster overall, but when it comes to the scheme and the quarterback position, I think the 49ers have a clear advantage. I think they'll run the ball down their throat, and 49ers win this game easily.
Yeah.
Then I have the Cowboys playing at home against the Seahawks, and I love to believe in Geno Smith, but I think this Cowboys team is starting to really click on offense, and that's dangerous because we all know that their defense is elite. And if that stays put throughout the season, then the Cowboys should win this game at home. And then I have the Saints versus the Eagles, and I think this one will be closer than people will think, but I do have the Eagles winning this one. Their offense is in a much better situation, and that playoff experience and that hunger to get back to the Super Bowl will propel us Eagles forward in that road game.
Okay. All right. Eagles. I got the Vikings instead of Cowboys. I got the Vikings at the Lions. And I think the Lions just win. Dan Campbell's the man. He'll have the boys ready at home. Vikings, they definitely have the firepower to compete. I think it'll be a shootout. I don't think that it'll be like a complete blowout, but I think the Lions at home just prevail in that one. And then I got Cowboys Saints, which is the 4 versus the 5. And I think the Cowboys just go into New Orleans and they dominate right out of the gate. They're going to put pressure on Derek Carr. Derek Carr will probably be able to throw it, but I don't know if they can run the ball in this Cowboys defense. I also love seeing, Michael Parsons just be a game wrecker in these playoffs and take over for the team. And then I have Seahawks at Niners, another divisional matchup that's going to be awesome. I think this one's going to go down to the wire. But I think we're going to see playoff Brock Purdy, just like you said last year. It's going to be a trend. He's going to pick up his game from here on out, go into this wild card game at home, take care of business, move on to the next round.
A lot of similar teams in our top 4, so we'll have some similar matchups in this divisional and championship round. Chuck, you go one more time.
Okay, here we go. So divisional round. So Eagles had the bye in mind. So it'll be the 5th seed Cowboys at the Eagles. I think it's just going to be like last game, a little bit lower scoring, but I think the Eagles just squeak out another win at home. You can't stop that tush push. And then I think Jalen Hurts is going to go playoff mode and take care of the football. So I got the Eagles. And then we're going to have 49ers at Lions. Lions are the home team, but then it goes down to playoff experience. And I'm not going to count Jared Goff and the boys out, but that 49ers defense is going to be ferocious. They're going to absolutely get after the quarterback and stop the run, especially for the Lions, which is a key part in their offense. So I got the 49ers on the road winning, but they win by a last-second field goal. And then we got Eagles 49ers. I changed it.
Okay. So Eagles 49ers for you, and I have the Lions playing the Eagles and the 49ers playing the Cowboys. So potential for the same matchup, except we're not going to go there because my number one seed, the Detroit Lions, take care of business at home against the Eagles. The Lions, I feel like they're a team of destiny this year. Their culture, everything fits super well, and they're just strong at like every position. Their D-line is very underrated. I think their D-line might be among the best in the league. Every piece combined. Their rookies are playing out of their mind. Great running game, great offensive line, good pass catchers. Goff's playing mistake-free football, and the Eagles have, even though their record is the best in the NFL, they're not playing like it on defense. We all talk about this tush push being unstoppable, but this defense is beatable, and the Lions have the personnel to beat them. So I have them winning. The 49ers play the Cowboys, and you could repeat this game probably 100 times, and the same result will probably happen because the Cowboys have not made it to the NFC Championship in my entire existence living, and that will continue here. 49ers will once again outclass the Cowboys. Unfortunately, Zeke won't be at center for this time. And the NFC Championship, I got Lions at home versus 49ers. And guess what? I'm not changing my pick from the beginning of the season. I still have the Bengals versus the Lions in the Super Bowl, and I'm riding with that.
Bengals Lions.
I believe that the 49ers can be exposed to that secondary. I think the Lions have the guys that can do it. And Goff, you talk about playoff experience, but Goff's been to the Super Bowl before. Goff can certainly lead these guys. And that Detroit home crowd is going to be raucous, like almost no home crowd in the entire NFL. Like maybe the Chiefs, but we're talking about a team that's starved for victory. I'm telling you, man, team of destiny, Detroit Lions.
I hope you're right. I wouldn't be mad with Lions Bengals, honestly, something different. But something that I want to stay the same, and I've been praying for these past 3 seasons. So it's going to be 49ers at the Eagles. Purdy revenge game. Again, he's going in with huge momentum in this game. Eagles, these past 2 games, they've let up more than 22 points on defense. And you're completely right. That defense is definitely vulnerable. I got the 49ers winning by a last-second field goal in Philly. All the Philly fans are crying. And we're going to have 49ers Chiefs in the Super Bowl. I want that Super Bowl again. That was one of the best Super Bowls I've watched. And we're going to have a classic. And you know who I'm picking for the winner of that.
And who do you have in that Super Bowl?
Chiefs win by a field goal.
Yep. And for my Super Bowl, I got the Bengals beating the Lions. Joe Burrow finally claims what's his. Lions get so close. It's like deja vu of the Bengals-Rams Super Bowl. Except the Bengals are the ones that come out on time this time.
I like it. And then tide turns and Burrow. Okay. All right. We'll see here.
All right. So now we got those playoff predictions. Save them in your notes. Screenshot, video record us, do whatever. We'll see who's right at the end of the year.
Yeah.
We got our pick'em coming up for the NFL, but before we get into our NFL pick'em, Chuck, run down your college football locks.
So college football, I'm actually killing it. I'm 19-13. We went 3-1 last time. So I love this slate. I got 5 picks real quick for you. Michigan -5.5 at Penn State. Games at 12. Franklin can't beat the big guy. He can never beat the best team. So give me Michigan on the road, who are just blowing teams out. Screw the allegations, what have you. Fuck all the noise. Michigan's going to kill them. I got next game, Alabama -10.5 at Kentucky. Kentucky, even though they're at home, they're not the best team right now, and offensively, they have a really good run game with this guy Ray Davis. But I just think Alabama is looking to roll Tide here and take care of this spread and take care of this team with ease. Next game, going with my guy, my best pick, my team, Colorado, plus 10.5 versus 24 ranked Arizona. Arizona just beat UCLA, I'm pretty sure. They're coming
When
to
will you
high.
learn, Chuck?
What'd you say?
When will you learn?
I'm still riding with my boys, the Buffs and Dion. So Colorado plus 10.5 versus Arizona. Colorado is at home. That's why the spread's not big enough. But give me 10 points with Colorado. Love it. And next game, Mizzou plus 1.5 versus Tennessee. Mizzou is at home. Tennessee on the road. I don't think they're that good. They lost to Florida by 2 scores on the road at the Swamp. Florida's not really that good of a team. Mizzou held their own versus Georgia. They almost came back, but I think if you can hold your own versus Georgia, I think you can beat Tennessee with these. Give me Mizzou plus 1.5. And the last one is the big dog. Look, go with my boy Lane Kiffin, who's absolutely just hanging on by a thread by all his games, but he's winning these games at the end each time. He's coaching the guys up well. They got a good team. I love the quarterback for Ole Miss. I forgot his name, but he's slinging it. Give me Ole Miss plus 10 at Georgia. No, plus 10.5 at Georgia.
Man, I'm hoping for an upset there. That would really shake things up. The only pick I have to offer this week is an upset of Rutgers beating Iowa on the road. Iowa's entire offense has gone down to injuries this year, and they don't score points anyway. And, people complain about Ohio State's performance. And by people, I mean Ohio State fans. Will complain about the performance against Rutgers. But Rutgers, they got a solid squad. They got a pretty good defense, and they can hang in games. And I think I could trust them more to score more points than Iowa. So that'll be my college football pick this week.
I also like the under in that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. How low is it? Like 20?
I'll check. I hope it's not 20.
we don't need to check that, but we will check on our NFL picks. So let's go.
Here we go.
We got 3 games on the slate this week. Just give me 1 second. So we got
all at one.
I'm trying to.
All at 1 o'clock. All great games. You guys are going to love it.
Yes. Chuck, what are the games?
So we got 1 o'clock, Saints at Vikings, 1 o'clock, Browns at Ravens, and then 1 o'clock, 49ers at Jaguars.
All right. So starting off with 2 teams that we really don't know what to make of halfway through the year. We got the Saints and the Vikings. The Saints have been the king of the NFC South by default because every other team has been, crapping to bed however they want to do it. The Vikings, we thought they were done for, but here comes Josh Dobbs not knowing the playbook, saving the day like we talked about. And they've matched up this weekend. Who do we got?
So I was looking at this game. Josh Dobbs plays phenomenal on 3 days of practice. Barely knew the plays and just fucking tore up the Falcons defense with his legs and his arm. Saints have a very good defense, way better than the Falcons defense. And the Saints can get after the quarterback. They got great DBs with Marshawn Lattimore and Tyrann Mathieu and Demario Davis over the middle who can cover the pass and cover the run. But I love rooting for this Vikings team. And I just love watching them just come up with stuff on the fly, especially with a new quarterback right now. And I love Jordan Addison. I love that offense, a very high-powered offense. And I'm worried if the Saints can keep up with this high-powered offense. So I'm actually going to go with the Vikings here at home against the Saints.
Chuck, I don't know what it is, but we seem to be agreeing with each other a lot lately, which isn't going to help my case. But I got the Vikings in this game too.
Yeah, let's go.
Josh Dobbs with now extra time to learn the playbook. I think they'll kind of be a force. I think Dobbs opens up that offense a lot more than Kirk Cousins does because
100%.
Cousins, isn't a running threat. Dobbs is, obviously Dobbs doesn't have the throw strength, but with all their receivers injured right now, it doesn't really matter.
No.
I just don't trust the Saints enough on offense, and I think the coaching matchup is a big one here. I think O'Connell is a much better coach. Give me the Vikings in this game.
I love that point. Definitely better coaching.
All right. Let's go to maybe the premier matchup of the week. 49ers and Jaguars, two first-place teams, two teams going in opposite directions. The 49ers have dropped 3 in a row and have had injuries all over their offense. The Jaguars have vaulted into what was a tie for first place in the AFC before, their bye week. But the Jaguars coming in hot at 6-2. Do the trends continue or do the trends halt here, Chuck?
I see. Looking at this game, I looked at the injury report. I don't know if Deebo Samuel's playing for the 49ers, but I really don't think he'll make a difference in this one because I'm going to go with the Jags here. Both teams top 10 defenses, but I was looking. The Jags let up maybe 7 yards less rush per game, and I think the Jags with their run game with ETN sets up everything for Trevor Lawrence. And we know that this 49ers defense, they could definitely be thrown on. And Brock Purdy has not looked his best. And I do agree with you. They can go on a roll here, but I can't trust Brock Purdy right now, especially with this Jags defense who also gets after the quarterback and they play good on the back end. So I'm going to go with the Jags here. Give me Goldilocks, Trevor Lawrence, and ETN. And also Andre Cisco is questionable for the game. One of the Jags defensive backs, which could be a huge problem too, but I'm still going to go with the Jags.
Yeah, well, what's a huge problem is the availability of Trent Williams. He did not practice, and it's very up in the air whether he plays or not. There's still a chance. So, yeah, the 49ers, there's a lot for them to figure out on offense, but luckily they had the bye week to do that. And I think this is a game that the 49ers need way more. And I think they go in and give me the 49ers in this game, especially, I'll gladly go on their side, especially if it means fading you and catching up. But, I think the Jaguars sneakily, their offense hasn't always performed up to expectation this year. So I don't think it's a lock that they're going to score a bunch of points, but I do think that the 49ers can hit you in many different ways, and they got weapons all over the field, and Jaguars are still struggling to defend the pass. So give me the 49ers.
Niners.
All right. AFC North showdown for our final game. Browns and the Ravens. The Browns, probably a lot of people dismissed them at the beginning of the year. We did not on this channel, but the Browns have arguably the best defense in the NFL this year. But the Ravens are the highest team in the NFL. They've vaulted their way up into a tie for the best record in the AFC. And you can really argue they're playing like the best team in the NFL right now. Does that trend continue, though, against this Browns almighty defense?
I think it does continue. Both of these teams have top 5, maybe even top 3 defenses, both respectively. But again, you got to go with the Browns. I mean, not got to go with, but you got to think about the Browns offense and how poorly it's been executed, especially with Deshaun Watson's injury, or if he's injured at all. But he definitely needs to step up in a game like this, and especially on the road. I don't know if he can get that done. And against the Cardinals last week, they didn't even put up 24 points, which, I mean, I don't think the Browns would be able to put up 24 points, but they were winning 20-0. Cardinals could have still maybe hung around at the end, but definitely not, because that Browns defense is tenacious and Myles Garrett is having an awesome season. But I think the Ravens at home are just unstoppable. They're outscoring opponents 70-21 in their past 2 games. Yes, both those teams are NFC teams, but I don't think that matters, especially with the 2 teams that they played were very good and both had winning records. So I'm going to take the Ravens offense over the Browns offense. And I think the Ravens pull this win out. They win by like 4 or 5. So give me the Ravens. As long as
I think
Lamar does not turn the ball over.
right. Yeah, I think this game might be a little bit more separate than that. I think the Ravens will win by a lot more. You look at the Browns depth chart now that Jedrick Wills is also out after he had a knee injury that will keep him out for the next 6 weeks. So now they're going to slide in James Hudson, who is a 2021 fourth round pick, and it's been a depth piece for the Browns. He comes in at left tackle. They still have DeJuan Jones, the big guy, over at right tackle. And the Ravens' pass rush has been ferocious this year. And, Watson's been kind of a crybaby and says, oh, ow, my shoulder hurts, So I don't know how he's going to do under pressure. So let me get the Ravens. I think they win big here.
There we go. Not 100% same picks, but logical picks.
Can't do it. Can't do it 2 weeks in a row. Like this, it just be inexcusable. Let's go with some locks.
Locks. Oh, I got a plenty. I had a down week last week, went like 2 and 3. I have I think 5 picks for you right here. So first one, it's at 1 p.m. Colts minus 1.5 at the Patriots. 1 p.m. game. Patriots are in the dog shit house. They're a brick shit house, just waiting to be knocked down. And then I'm still sticking with my hot take. Belichick fired after this game if they lose to the Colts by double digits. Next pick, I love the Jaguars +3 versus the 49ers. Even if they lose by a field goal, you get your money back. But 3 points at home, I have to take that. So give me Jags +3, 1 p.m. Texans +6.5 at Bengals at 1 o'clock. I love the Texans. They're absolutely electric. And you saw this past Sunday night. Josh Allen threw for like 258. He could have threw for more if they got the ball back in crunch time, but the Bengals ran the clock out. But I love C.J. Stroud in this situation, going into a hot enemy territory that is the Bengals that are staying hot. But I think C.J. can ball with any of them, and even if they just lose by 3, they cover. Next pick, I like the Chargers +2.5 versus the Lions, 4 p.m. game. Chargers at home. They just beat a superior Jets defense team, but the Jets didn't have a really good offense. But I love Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack. Khalil Mack is actually having a really good year. He's producing at a high level. He's getting to the quarterback. Nobody's saying he's washed or old. And I think he's really underrated this year because I don't think a lot of people are talking about Khalil Mack wreaking havoc in the backfield. And then also, so Chargers +2.5 versus Lions. Last pick, Raiders +1.5 versus Jets. Sunday Night Football. These Sunday Night Football matchups couldn't be more on and off with how shitty they are. But this game should be good and close. But give me the Raiders at home and +1 point. I mean, I got to take it. The Jets need to win, but Zach Wilson is a shell of himself, and he can't make the throws. His wide receivers aren't catching. I like the Raiders to win by a field goal here. Raiders +1.5, last pick.
Like those locks, Chuck. That Colts spread is very confusing. Like, feels like they should be more than a 2-point favorite.
Exactly.
Another confusing spread is the Atlanta Falcons are only a 1-point favorite on the road against the 1-8 Arizona Cardinals, presumably because of the return of Kyler Murray. But do people really think that Kyler Murray off a torn ACL is going to lead this team to a victory right away? I mean, people are forgetting the Falcons. Yes, they're horribly coached and managed. They're wasting their talent.
Yeah.
But they still have a good defense, and their run game and like their offense as a whole. They pick their spots. They can beat bad defenses, and especially coming off a loss, it seems like too easy here. So I'm gonna go with it because it's easy. So Falcons -1 there. I'm gonna fade one of your picks.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna go with the Jets to beat the Raiders on the road because I think the Raiders had some sort of coming out party with Antonio Pierce as their head coach, and they're playing loose and playing good football. And now I feel like this is just a perfect spot for like a kind of letdown.
Trap game.
Yeah, who knows what that game final score could have been if Daniel Jones didn't get injured in the first quarter. I feel like it'd be a totally different game. Not like Mr. Danny DeVito, he's not an NFL quarterback.
No,
I'm sorry.
He's terrible.
Side note, I can't believe I have to watch him the rest of the year.
Yeah.
But my lock of the week and also my upset is going to be the Tennessee Titans on the road against the Buccaneers. I love picking well-coached teams in matchups like this, and Mike Vrabel and the Titans certainly qualify as such. I think we saw a lot from Will Levis, not just in that first game where he threw 4 touchdowns, but even against the Steelers. I think he made some tough throws, and his rest of his core and his offensive line just kind of let him down. But this is a much better match for him. And you see the Buccaneers, they got off to a good start, but they're kind of falling a little bit. It's not Baker's fault, but the defense is certainly underwhelming. I like the Titans to win this game on the road.
I love the Titans too. It's Will Levis season. My upset is actually going to be the Broncos money line plus 320 at Bills Monday night.
Chuck, if you have the Bills losing that game, you can't have them as your 4 seed, man. Like, come on.
That's an upset for the ages if it hits. So if I'm definitely not going to do the. I probably won't do -7.5 right now, but I'm feeling cheeky doing a little money line after what the Broncos did to the Chiefs. I think they can play just as well against the Bills.
Well, we said upset of the week, so and that certainly qualifies as such. So I love the pick there. We are just about out of time on this show. The saddest part of the week when the show ends, but luckily next week we'll have a brand new show. We'll review how things in the NBA have been going, and we're going to go into our best and worst contracts of the free agency offseason. We'll do a little look back on this NFL season. But until then, I'm Shoop.
I'm Chuck.
And we're going to keep it rolling. But anyway, stay safe, folks.
Enjoy your weekend. Have a good one.
Peace.